This is 7.4, and today we're going to be talking about special right triangles in trig. So up until now, we've been doing a lot with similar right triangles and how they compare to each other. We're doing a little bit of Pythagorean's theorem, and then the next thing that you talk about when you're doing triangles is special right triangles. And the first one we're going to start with is called a 45-45 at 90 triangle. So it's got the 90 in the corner, and then the two angles are each 45. So what happens when you have that triangle is, since these angles are the same, these sides are the same, so they're both x. Sorry, I just wrote on that one. And then the hypotenuse becomes x with a square root of 2 on it. So if this is 7, then this is 7, and this is 7 square roots of 2. So whatever the length of the legs are, you just throw a square root of 2 on it, and you got the hypotenuse. So what I have kids do is kind of build a table. And so each 45 is an x, and then the 90 is an x squared to 2. And then when we get to a problem, we're going to solve for this category, or for that column. So let's try the first one, just to get our feet wet here. So there's my 45. Here's my other one. So if that's 8, that means that's 8. And then for the hypotenuse, all I have to do is tack on a square root of 2. So it would go 45, 45, 90. X, x, x squared root of 2. And I would put an 8 there, an 8 there, and then I'm just kind of plugging it in. So I'm going to put the 8 right there. Okay? Next one. I've got an x and x. This time I don't know the sides, but I know the hypotenuse. So I'm going to go 45, 45, 90. X, x, x squared root of 2. This time I know the hypotenuse. I don't know these two guys. So I'm just going to go like that. And then I can figure out what x is. I kind of take off the square root of 2. And so now I know my x is 5. So that means those guys are 5s. Next one. 45, 45, 90. X, x, x squared root of 2. And right now we have the two sides, the ones that match. So this is 3 square roots of 2. And 3 square roots of 2. And then in order to find the hypotenuse, I take that and I put it right there. So what you end up with is 3 square roots of 2 and another square root of 2. So this 3 square roots of 2 is just what the x equaled. And then the whole theorem says the 90 has an extra square root of 2 on it. So square root of 2 times square root of 2 is actually square root of 4, which we know to just be 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. Couple more. 45, 45, 90. X, x, x square root of 2. This time I don't know the sides. I know the hypotenuse, which is 2 square roots of 2. So I'm going to take the square root of 2 off, and that means my x has to be 2. Next one. 45, 45, 90. This time I've got the sides, so these are each square root of 2. And in order to find the hypotenuse, I'm supposed to take that and put a square root of 2 on it. So this ends up being square root of 4, which is just 2. One more, 45, 45, 90. X, x square root of 2. So my x's are 8s. And so my hypotenuse is going to be 8 square roots of 2. All right. So for a 45, 45, 90, I find it the easiest when kids kind of set up this little thing, this little trick. I'm going to try one more with you. I'm going to make it up quick as I'm noticing what kind I had. I kind of want one to be a little bit more difficult. Like let's put an 8 there. So I'm going to go 45, 45, 90. X, x, x square root of 2. And this time I have the hypotenuse, which is not as helpful as the other ones we did where they already had a square root of 2 in them. So what I have to do is solve this for x. So I'm going to divide by square root of 2. And we're not going to like that because there's a square root of 2 in the bottom. So what I'm going to do is multiply by the square root of 2 in order to get rid of it. So I'm going to multiply by square root of 2 and square root of 2. So I end up with 8 square root of 2 over, and this would be square root of 4, which is just 2. Okay? And then I can reduce this one time and make 4 square roots of 2. So when the number isn't nice or you don't have a square root of 2 on it, set it up like a little equation and solve for your x. And we just divide it by square root of 2. Can't have square roots in the denominator, so you'll multiply by that to get rid of it. And then we just reduced a little bit at the end and took the 2 into the 8 and got 4. So these sides are 4 square roots of 2. What really ends up happening is you end up dividing this guy by 2 and giving it a square root of 2. So if I had one with 16, I would divide by 2 and get 8 with the square root of 2 on it. When I teach this to kids, I really think that this is the key, that you write 45, 45, 90, and you start with x, x, x square roots of 2, because when we do the next triangle, the next lesson about 30, 60, 90s, these are different. So it kind of helps you keep straight about who you are solving for.